Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking the Bhagavad Gita, this massive, complex, 700-verse ancient epic, and we're going to distill it down into a highly practical framework for personality development and decision-making. We're drawing upon a brilliantly detailed compilation by Dr. Giridhar Bore, which basically translates the profound commentaries of ancient scholars into incredibly accessible concepts. So if you've ever felt completely paralyzed by a difficult choice, well, this explainer is going to map out an ancient guide to overcoming that exact mental block.
Okay, let's just dive right in. A battlefield, honestly, seems like a pretty strange place for a philosophical sermon, right? But here we find profound wisdom delivered smack in the middle of total chaos. In the ancient epic, the Mahabharata, two armies of cousins, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, are facing off. Our protagonist, Prince Arjuna, looks across the front lines and he sees his teachers, his uncles, his friends. He literally drops his weapons, just totally overcome with grief and fear of the outcome. It's right here, in the middle of an actual war zone, that the Bhagavad Gita unfolds.
Because this is a pretty intricate guidebook, here is our roadmap for the explainer. 1. The battlefield of life. 2. The mystery of 18. 3. The path to knowledge. 4. Wisdom and true devotion. 5. Reiteration and deepening. And 6. The philosophy of dualism. All right, kicking things off with section 1, the battlefield of life, the metaphor of Kurukshetra.
So the really crucial point to grasp here is that Arjuna's doubts and fears on that Kurukshetra battlefield, they're actually a metaphor for our own inner conflicts. As the source text brilliantly highlights, the Gita is really a masterful treatise on personality development. Arjuna was, for a moment, just a bundle of human weaknesses, completely vexed by his love and attachments, wanting to just run away from his duty. The text points out that the battleground represents the human body and mind. The warring cousins, they represent the constant, daily strife between our good and evil thoughts. When we're pulled by fears, doubts, and jealousies in our daily lives, we are standing exactly where Arjuna stood.
Moving right along to section 2, the mystery of 18, Sankhya Yoga and numerology.
Now, what is absolutely fascinating here is the recurring significance of this number, 18. It's actually mathematically derived from Jaya, the Sanskrit word for victory. You see, in Indian theology, the study of knowledge is termed Sankhya Yoga, which literally means arithmetic. Every Sanskrit letter has a numerical equivalent. If you take the word Jaya, signifying the triumph of good over evil, and apply the grammatical rule of reading numerical representations in reverse order, it mathematically equates to the number 18. And this brilliantly illustrates just how deeply numerology is woven into the text. I mean, look at this. The Gita itself is 18 chapters long. It sits inside the Mahabharata, which is 18 volumes long. The Great War was fought over exactly 18 days. The armies were made up of 18 regiments in total, 11 for the Kauravas and 7 for the Pandavas. Duryodhana names exactly 18 main leaders. Even the exact number of conchs sounded is 18. This is a text where absolutely nothing is left to chance. The structure itself reinforces the message of ultimate victory.
That brings us to section 3, the path to knowledge, the micro to macro framework.
Just look at how this breaks down. By dividing those 18 chapters into 3 perfectly symmetrical blocks of 6, we instantly make this massive epic organized, digestible, and highly structured. According to the ancient commentator Sri Raghavendra, the first 6 chapters broadly outline how one can obtain divine knowledge, so basically setting up the foundation. The middle block of 6 focuses heavily on true devotion and specialized wisdom, and then the final 6 chapters act as an expansion, elaborating on and deepening the concepts introduced earlier. It's an incredibly modern way of teaching, layered perfectly over thousands of years ago. Let's zoom in on that middle block for section 4, Wisdom and True Devotion, covering chapters 7 through 12. Have you ever wondered about the difference between just reading a theory and actually truly experiencing it? There is a crucial contrast here between jnana, or indirect knowledge, and vijnana, direct, specialized wisdom. This concept is the beating heart of chapter 7. Jnana is what you get when you read a book or listen to a teacher. It's vital, for sure, but it is indirect. Vijnana, on the other hand, is that incredible direct knowledge that only comes from actual self-realization. This section of the Gita explains that true devotion requires moving from just knowing the words to fundamentally experiencing the reality of them. Which naturally leads us into section 5, Reiteration and Deepening, spanning chapters 13 through 18. I absolutely love this imagery.
Chapter 15 beautifully visualizes the complex universe and our place within it as an expansive banyan tree. The source text actually emphasizes that this single chapter contains the absolute core teachings of the entire Gita. In fact, keeping with that numerology we discussed earlier, this specific chapter has 20 verses that contain exactly 700 letters, a micro-reflection of the 700 total verses in the whole Gita. The banyan tree metaphor grounds us, showing how all living beings and inert objects are deeply intrinsically connected to the Supreme.
And to help us navigate this universe, Chapter 14 warns us about 3 qualities of nature that define our personalities and bind us. These 3 fundamental qualities, sattva representing piety and virtue, rajas representing passion and action, and tamas representing ignorance and inertia, are literally the building blocks of human nature. The explainer makes it very clear that we can't judge people just by their external appearance or their position in society. It is these intrinsic traits that drive us. Understanding which of these 3 forces is currently steering your mind is the very first step to escaping their clutches.
Finally, we reach the theological core in Section 6, the philosophy of dualism, or Dvaita Vedanta.
So the philosophy of Dvaita establishes that human forms are distinct, and they're given to us specifically to perform our worldly duties. Unlike some philosophies out there that suggest everything just merges into a single entity, the Dvaita philosophy explicitly states that you, the individual soul, are permanently distinct from the Supreme Lord. You're not meant to dissolve into nothingness. You are specifically given a human form to play a dutiful, active role in society.
And understanding this separation, it's a real game changer. It empowers us to act as instruments, performing our prescribed duties without being totally paralyzed by the fear of the outcome. Because we are distinct from the Supreme, we don't have to carry the weight of the entire universe on our own shoulders. In Chapter 2, Lord Krishna essentially tells Arjuna, look, do your duty, fight for what is right to protect your citizens, and offer the results up. When you realize you're simply an instrument guided by a higher power, you can step into your battlefield and take action without being crushed by the anxiety of what might happen next.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to remember that the true war is actually inside your own mind. We all have our own Kurukshetra, right? We all face those moments where our attachments, our fears, and our doubts are just begging us to drop our weapons and walk away from our responsibilities. But armed with structured knowledge, understanding the qualities that drive our mind, and knowing our distinct purpose, we can step forward. The battlefield is set, so what duty will you choose to perform today?